I'm Dr. Joe Esposito, and welcome to our podcast, For the Health of It, Episode 7. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast, and you'll never miss an episode on how to naturally get well and stay well.
The information presented on this program is not intended to take the place of your personal physician's advice, and it is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Discuss this information with your own physician or healthcare provider to determine what is right for you.
Are you suffering needlessly? Dr. Joe can give you advice on how to naturally get well and stay well. Dr. Joe Esposito.
Hey folks, Dr. Joe here. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. I'm certainly having a wonderful day. And today we're going to talk about something that affects a lot of our patients and a lot of you out there, because you're my patients, is headaches. How many people have headaches? Raise your hands. How many people know somebody who has headaches? Raise your hands. Pretty much about 100% of you out there either have it or know somebody who has them. And boy, can they be debilitating, can't they? I have an old neck injury, and every now and then I get a headache. And boy, headaches and sore throats, I don't play well with those two. So I want to talk about headaches, what's causing them, what treatments are working, and some surprising things that you're probably doing that may be making them worse. Like, for example, people talk about calcium, taking calcium if you have a headache or if you have muscle pain. But if you're in a headache and you take calcium, studies have shown it can actually make it worse. So that's little fun things like that. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So make sure you tune in. Tell your friends to tune in because, again, this is healthcare that, really, really works. So we're going to talk about some natural ways to help stop and prevent headaches. We'll start with migraines because those are the big ones. Those are the ones that everybody hates so much. And it's been interesting. A recent study showed that people who develop migraine headaches late in life with an aura. Now, an aura is when you start having flashes of light, are 6 times more likely to have a stroke. So that's pretty frightening. So right off the bat, I want to say that if you're having headaches, it could be the sign of something much more serious. And to ignore them is a very dangerous thing. So what might be causing them? Well, migraine headaches can have different symptoms. One is you have an aura, which is like we said, the flashing lights. Some migraines are really intense. Some are mild. I know my sister, she passed away several years ago, but my sister suffered from horrible headaches. And unfortunately, she didn't listen to her baby brother with some advice. And I think there's several things we could have done to help her. But she passed away from breast cancer, not from headaches. But that migraine aura, let's talk about that for a second. It's flashing lights, and they often appear to slowly grow. It looks like a zigzag, kind of a neon light. Maybe half of the visual field is obscured. And it occurs when the wave of brain depression spreads through the visual cortex of the brain. So what happens is the nerves start to essentially shut down. That's what that is. So a number of symptoms can occur before the migraine starts. We talked about the visual aura, localized numbness, feeling of weakness in a limb, certain sides of the body can go weak, confusion, difficulty thinking or speaking. Some cases there's vertigo involved. If you have vertigo, if you're dizzy, it's usually one of 3 things. Because people come to us all day, every day. Well, it's probably maybe 4 or 5 cases a week, actually. And they have dizziness. Anybody have that? Raise your hands. Okay. Number 1, it could be the inner ear. Very common. And if it is, we need to work on getting the nerve supply to the inner ear working properly. It could be the cerebellum, which is the back part of your brain. And if it's in the back part of the brain, that can cause an issue. And so we need to get in there and stimulate the part of the cerebellum that isn't being stimulated properly. And what we do is a simple test. I stand behind the patient, or my doctor stand behind the patient, and we have them close their eyes. And if they start to sway to one side, that's the side, the cerebellum, back part of the brain, that's the side of the cerebellum that isn't getting enough neurological input. And so we have ways we can adjust to actually stimulate that side of the brain, and then we can have them stand up again, and many times that balances them out. And the other thing I find, which nobody ever seems to talk about, is if there's a digestive problem, the digestive system is controlled by this big nerve called the vagus nerve, or this big controlling nerve, I should say. And the vagus nerve, if it's irritated, might cause dizziness as well. It's called vasovagal syncope, where somebody gets dizzy. So we want to look at those 3 things when it comes to dizziness, and also want to look at those 3 things when it comes to headaches as well. But I just kind of got off on a tangent there on dizziness. If the first time you're joining us, I should tell you who I am. I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. I'm board certified in chiropractic, also board certified in orthopedics, board certified in pain management, double board certified in nutrition, BS in nutrition, retired dietitian, award-winning author. This show, as far as I know, is the #1 health and wellness radio broadcast in the country. And I've been in practice now for 33 years in the same building. And I've missed a half a day of work in 33 years. It was fun. I had lunch with a friend of mine. He's an orthopedic surgeon. I'd met him. And the first time we met, he said, so how long have you been in practice? I said, 33 years. He goes, no, how long have you been in practice? I said, no, 33 years. He thought I was 33 years old. I went, you go, boy. And he says, boy, that healthy lifestyle really pays off, huh? I said, yeah, it sure does, man. But I digress. So what happens is with these migraines, you can have these symptoms sometimes 5 to 10 minutes before the headache sets in. Then you start getting that throbbing, intense headaches. It's usually one side of the head. In some people, the attack is so intense, it can trigger vomiting. And that's when it even hurts worse, because when you're throwing up, you're irritating the nerves that go up into the head. So a couple of things. The studies have shown that 4 major events occur in brains of people who have migraine headaches. There's localized inflammation. So that's where we're going to talk about in a second. Food can cause a problem because certain foods are inflammatory. And if you're eating inflammatory foods, you need to stop that. It can reduce production of energy. In your cells, you have something called mitochondria. And mitochondria are the powerhouses of the cell. They generate electricity. And if you're not getting enough electricity, that can lead to headaches. Low ionic magnesium levels. Low magnesium can cause an issue there. And high levels of something called glutamate. Now, I'm going to cover glutamate pretty much in depth in a little bit. Remember that word. It's a very important word. And a lot of you are going to say, oh, my gosh, Dr. Joe, that's me. That's my problem. I eat blah, 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 and I get headaches. Or I get headaches and I can never figure out where they're coming from. I'm going to answer that for you today in a little bit. That's a tease. In the radio business, that's called a tease. People with migraines are more susceptible to epilepsy. And they also suffer other disorders of immunoexcitotoxicity, such as depression, anxiety, panic attacks. And certain drugs used for treating epilepsy have been shown to improve migraine headaches. So with the migraine headaches, it can be a big issue. And again, there's other things that go along with it aside from the pain. Increased risk of stroke, increased risk of epilepsy. Symptoms that the other migraine sufferers and seizure sufferers have in common. Flashing lights. Now, here's something interesting. I was talking to one of my doctors the other day, and they didn't know this, that if you have fluorescent lights, and I bet a lot of you do, especially in the workplace, but fluorescent lights are everywhere, those are not straight lights. They actually strobe, and they strobe so fast that you can't see the strobing. But if somebody suffers from headaches or seizures, their brain perceives this strobing meaning they blink real fast, and that can trigger problems. So a lot of people say, I get headaches every time I walk into wherever, my work, my office, whatever it is, somebody else's office, a certain restaurant. It could be due to the type of strobing neon lights that they have. Food sensitivity can trigger headaches. We're going to cover that a lot coming up soon. Exposure to glutamate. We got to cover that again because the glutamate is going to be a big player in this. And you're going to be surprised how many foods have glutamate in them and how surprised I was when I was getting headaches, couldn't figure out where they're coming from. And then I learned where they were coming from. And a condition called hypoglycemia, which is low blood sugar. If you don't eat or if you start getting hungry, that can trigger headaches as well. Computers, big issue. I've been in practice 33 years. 20 years ago, we didn't have computer-related injuries like shoulder problems or wrist problems or headaches. With your computer, people ask me this all the time. You want to put your arms at your sides and then bend your elbows. Keeping your arms at your sides. Don't move the elbows. Just bend your elbows so your hands are in front of you. That's the level of your keyboard. Follow that? So your arms are going to be low. The top of your monitor should come to your forehead. If you wear bifocals and you have to lift your head up, if you have to lift your head down, not a good idea. Many times that triggers neck injuries. Again, as a chiropractor, my team of doctors, we look at neck injuries all day, every day, and we see what needs to be done about them. And so your computer screen is going to be a big player. And then your feet should be flat on the floor. Your knees should be bent, not up high, not too low. Your feet shouldn't be dangling. All these things can put a lot of stress on the spine. And the spine controls everything. The way the body works is your brain is sending messages down the spine, out the nerves to every cell in the body. The heart, the lungs, the liver, the spleen. Everything is controlled because the brain tells it what to do. Two things can interfere with the messages, chemical or physical. Now, chemical would be what we're talking about, food. In this case, glutamine or glutamate. We're going to cover that in a second. Other foods can trigger headaches or pain. Physically, as if a bone moves out of place, it's going to pinch a nerve. And if you pinch a nerve, it hurts. And this is by far the number one cause of headaches. Bones out of place, pinching nerves. So if you have a bone out of place in the upper part of your neck, pinching the nerve up into your brain, that can cause a problem. And I see it all day, every day. So you've got to be careful with that. I don't want you getting headaches because of a bone out of place, because that's the easiest thing to fix. Take the bone that's out of place, put it back in place, and you're good. So as a chiropractor, that's what we do all day, every day. I see a lot of headache cases following car accidents or sports injuries where the head snaps back and forth. If the head snaps back and forth, the brain also goes back and forth. But this is the cool thing about the brain. The brain floats in a sea of fluid. So when your head snaps backwards, your brain slams against the front of the skull. When your head snaps forward, your brain slaps against the back of the skull. And that's called a contre-coup injury. Contre-coup meaning forward and back. It's French. And so these forward and back, these contre-coup injuries can actually bruise the brain, causing inflammation, leading to headaches. And then you go on your typical American diet: alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, artificial sweetener, breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, and pastas. I know it's pretty much your diet. And then you have more inflammation on an area that's already bruised and inflamed, and you're saying, I got these horrible headaches after the car accident, but a lot of it is due to the fact that you're exacerbating the headache by eating inflammatory foods. So this is why a lot of doctors send me their patients. Surgeons will say, Joe, I want your team of doctors to try to get this person as healthy as we can before they go to surgery, get them on an anti-inflammatory diet, get them healthy. Once we do the surgery, we're going to put them on a program with you as well to get them healing as fast as possible. So a lot of surgeons are now realizing that, and we think about, well, of course it's for the patient, but a surgeon has a track record. You know, how well the person heals, and if people die after the surgery, that goes kind of on their record. So they want people to not have a bad record. They want to get people healthy so they look good. Keeps their record clean. So a lot of doctors are now realizing that they can really improve their success rate by getting people to come see us first, and we can do chiropractic with them, we can do nutrition with them, fix their digestive system, and then send them into the surgery. People come out a lot healthier. Not against surgery. If you need surgery, man, you should have surgery. But you want to make sure you're doing it the right way. So I digress a little bit there, but food has a lot to do with inflammation. And then if you have an injury on top of it, it gets a lot worse. And so that's why you want to make sure you're treating the nervous system, the pinched nerves, treating the digestive system, because if you're not digesting your food, that can lead to inflammation. And you want to make sure you're eating an anti-inflammatory diet always. Whether you have headaches, whether you have any disease, you want to keep the body in an anti-inflammatory state as much as possible. So migraines and headaches, they're pretty serious business. Migraines attacks occur more often than 15 times a month with a patient. For more than 3 months, it's called a chronic migraine. Now, do you think that's going to affect their ability to make a living, affect their relationships, their romantic relationships, their family, their coworkers, their churchgoers? Yeah. It's a big player. And so I want you to think about that it's a lot more than just pain. And when the brain gets excited and this pain starts to fire, that can lead to things like depression. I mean, when you're in pain all the time, and I've had periods in my life where I've been in pain for long periods of time, it's very depressing. So when it comes to pain management, again, I'm one of the few chiropractors, maybe the only chiropractor in my state who's board certified in pain management. We understand the importance of getting that pain under control, because it can affect every aspect of your life. And we don't want that, especially if it's manageable. The number one complaint I get in my office is, why didn't I do that sooner? Why didn't I come see you guys sooner? Why didn't I get a nutritional workup sooner? Why didn't I take supplements like Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, adrenal supplements? Why didn't I take those sooner? Because my life is so much better now. So many people are suffering needlessly, and I don't want you to be one of them. And we have 3 offices if you're in the Atlanta area, Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge. But we have people come from all over the world, because this show is heard all over the world, to come see us, to get treated because they really want to help get out of their pain. But my goal is not get you out of pain. Our goal, my team of doctors and I, is to get you well. So that's what we're shooting for, is to get you well, not just out of pain. Because out of pain can be temporary. Wellness, hopefully, is going to be a lifestyle. So if you have the headaches, the neck pain, keep listening. We're going to talk about glutamate and other issues that we have to be careful with. We're going to talk about genetic link. We talked earlier, we started the show saying that if you need calcium, it's important. But if you're in the throes of a headache and you take calcium, sometimes it can actually make the headache worse. Little things you didn't know you had, right? So, folks, if you want to make an appointment to come see us, we have offices, again, Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge. We'd love to have you in as a patient. We accept people with all insurances, no insurances, car accidents, sports injuries. I have never seen a car accident ever where the car was damaged, but the occupants weren't. If the car was damaged, you were damaged 100% of the time. And we get referrals from lawyers and insurance companies and judges, and they say, Dr. Joe, your team, we really need these people treated by your team of doctors because we want to get them well. So that's why it's exciting. So if you're in a car accident, absolutely positively, get on the phone, call us, or go to my website, drjoeesposito.com, for any appointment. If you want to make an appointment, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. You can make it online. You can call us. We accept people, like I said, all insurances, no insurances. Many times, if a doctor or a hospital is not in network, there's a reason for that. They're not in your insurance network because they're not paying the doctor or the hospital enough to stay in business. So you'll say, well, my hospital, big thing happened in Atlanta. A hospital dropped out of Blue Cross Blue Shield. And they said, well, it's not fair that the hospital doesn't care about their patients. No, the hospital's going broke because Blue Cross Blue Shield, I'm assuming, wasn't paying them enough. Why else would any doctor drop out of a network? They want to get patients, of course. And many times you have something called out-of-network benefits, which are better than the in-network benefits. So if you make an appointment, check with us before you make any decisions about your insurance, because many times you may have out-of-network benefits that are better. So to make an appointment, come see us. Chiropractic, nutrition, work on the digestive system, drjoeesposito.com, and just Google Dr. Joe, and we'll set you up an appointment as soon as possible. Because we want to get you well and keep you well. That's our job. And we want you to be part of it. Now, this is where I have problems. It makes no sense to me that if you pump somebody full of drugs, which I'm not against, by the way, if you need the drugs, take them. But if you're pumping the patient full of drugs and you never tell them that their diet or a pinched nerve could be the major cause of their problem, it's just not fair. It's not fair to you. It's not fair to anyone involved. It's like trying to treat somebody for arsenic poisoning, but you just keep feeding them food that has arsenic in it. So many times pinched nerves are the cause of your healthcare problems because you can pinch a nerve and not even feel it. 90% of the nerves don't feel pain. So you could have a pinched nerve and not know it. That's not fun. So that's why we're so strict on checking the spine, the nerves that feel pain and the nerves that don't feel pain and the digestive system so that we can get you well. So let's talk about this glutamate thing that I've been teasing you with. Studies show that foods containing monosodium glutamate, glutamate is the bad part, not the monosodium part, but the glutamate part, can increase glutamate levels anywhere from 20-fold to 50-fold. And when it enters the brain, it can especially affect areas that trigger headaches. So glutamate increases sensitivity not just to headaches, but to all pain. So when patients come to us as pain patients, as chiropractors, we see a lot of those, and we do a nutritional workup, it's vital. Because if you're eating some of the foods I'm about to list, and you're a pain patient, you're making the problem substantially worse. Now, MSG is not the only source of glutamate. Food industry tries to disguise it because if you know what the word glutamate means, you're probably not going to eat that food. So here's some of it. In fact, in my first book called Prescription Eating Right for the Health of It was my first book. Eating Right for the Health of It, I have a page listing over 40 different names for glutamate or monosodium glutamate. 40 different names. Some of them might be natural flavoring. Carrageenan. Carrageenan comes from seaweed, and it's a thickening agent, a lot of times used in things like almond milk or coconut milk. So as a vegan, of course, I'm thinking this stuff is good. But if it has carrageenan in it, it might be triggering the headaches. Hydrolyzed protein, isolated soy protein, soy protein concentrate. How about whey protein? A lot of people think they need more protein in their diet, and you don't, by the way. That's a fallacy. Most people, I've never met anyone who needs more protein. But if you're doing whey protein, that has a lot of free glutamic acid in it or glutamate, and that can cause the problems. Sodium or calcium caseinate, source of glutamate. Stock, broth, sources of glutamate. Soy sauce, miso, some of these things, if you're sensitive to glutamate, can really trigger bad headaches. I know I love Korean food, and I would get something called bibimbap, which is I get it without meat and eggs in it. And it's delicious. And they give you a red sauce, and I'd pour on the red sauce, and I'd eat it, and oh my God, I'd love it. And every night I'd do it. I get a headache, and finally I did what I'm telling you to do. Keep a diet diary. Write down everything you eat. And if you go to my website, drjoeesposito.com, we have the diet diaries right there. Print them up. They're yours. They're free. And write down what you eat. And then when you have pain, whether it's headaches or neck pain or shoulder pain, see if you can find a correlation. And many times, if you can't find it, I can find it when you come in. But a lot of processed foods contain several forms of glutamate, and that can cause problems. The only way to avoid these, what's called an excitotoxin, excites the nervous system, is to prepare your own food fresh. But even when there are foods that are naturally containing high levels of glutamate, at least you stand a better chance. I'm going to talk about the natural foods that naturally contain glutamate in a second. But preparing your own food is really going to be helpful. And if you don't know how to cook, there's lots of classes you can take. I was at one of the kitchen stores. I can't think of the name right now. I know they have classes you can take every Saturday and Sunday. They have for kids and adults. A lot of places have cooking classes. I know MasterChef, the TV show, they have MasterChef Camp for kids. You can go to masterchefcamp.com and you can send the kids to camp for a week. So there's a lot of different things that you can do to learn how to prepare your own food. Get my first book, Eating Right for the Health of It. First half of the book tells you how to change your diet. And the second half of the book is well over 200 recipes. And you don't have to have any cooking skills whatsoever. The recipes are so simple and so easy and so delicious. And everything is plant-based, so that you can start at least preparing your own food and making some better decisions. So let's talk about some naturally occurring high glutamate foods. Tomato puree or tomato sauce, high in glutamate, and that can cause headaches. Beans, nuts, peanut butter, mushrooms, especially portobello mushrooms, cheeses, especially Parmesan cheese, dried or condensed cow's milk, they all have naturally occurring high levels of glutamate. So you may be thinking, but Dr. Joe, I'm a vegan and I eat tomato sauce. In the liquid form, it's much worse than eating a whole tomato. Or I eat beans or I eat peanut butter and I can't get rid of these headaches. And it took me a long time. Thai food, I can't do Thai food anymore because they always say no fish sauce. And the fish sauce always has monosodium glutamate in it, or free glutamic acid anyway. And I'd go to a place and say, it tastes a little fishy. No fish sauce, no fish sauce. All right, I believe you. Man, I'd get a headache. Well, sure enough, that's where it was coming from. And I've been to places like a place called a Hawaiian Bowl where they mix all the food like rice and vegetables and stuff. And I had a poke sauce one day. And boy, I had a blazing headache the next day. I said, I bet you they put MSG in there one way or another. And again, I don't think it's malicious. I think it's just one of those naturally occurring things. And there's no such thing as artificial glutamate. There's only one type of glutamate, and it's extracted from food. So all glutamate is an excitotoxin to the brain. The other thing that can trigger headaches is aspartame. It's used as an artificial sweetener, and it's used in over 6,000 or 7,000 different foods. I can't remember what it is now. So many times you see aspartame in the food, and you're getting a headache because it's an excitotoxin. Aspartic acid is an excitotoxin to the brain. Small amounts of aspartic acid, small amounts of glutamic acid, it's okay. When you get large amounts, concentrated forms, that's when you start having the problems. So I can't tell you how many patients I've had over the years that are headache patients, and I'll look at their diet, and sure enough, they're chewing sugar-free gum. They're having sugar-free mints, diet sodas. And I say, you got to cut this stuff out. Oh, doc, I can't give up my diet soda. I love my diet soda. Okay, well, you have to give it up. I said, here's my deal. Give it up for a month. See how you feel. Start drinking it again. See how you feel. And inevitably, they start drinking it again, and they say the same thing. Oh, my God, the headaches are so much worse. Oh, you were right. Of course I'm right. I wouldn't make this stuff up. I'm not smart enough to make this stuff up. I just research and tell you what works. And after all the years in practice, I've seen patients that have your problem. I can't remember the last time I saw a new patient. A new problem, I guess I should say. And so we've seen it. We know how to work with it. There's a commercial for an insurance company. We've seen it, been there, done it, seen it. And I know. And so that's why patients come to us from all over the world. They also like to take our supplements like Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source. Those are very good for alkalizing the system and giving your body the nutrients that you need. And there's other supplements too. We can go over that when you become a patient. If you want to become a patient, go to my website, drjoeesposito.com, and just Google Dr. Joe. You can do it online, or you can call us. We accept people with all insurances, no insurances. We have out-of-network benefits for a lot of people that aren't covered with the insurance. Car accidents. I've never seen a car ever where the car was damaged in an accident and the occupants weren't. So if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, if you're ready to get well, if you want to get out of pain and get healthy, it's time for you to make an appointment, not just for you, but for your friends and your children. If children have straight spines, they grow straight. If they're crooked, they grow crooked. So that's why I feel it's imperative that you get your children, just like you get their eyesight checked, you get their spines checked. Thanks for listening. Tell your friends about the show. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening to For the Health of It. Remember to subscribe to this podcast, and I'll help you naturally get well and stay well. You can also listen to and call into my radio show live Sunday evenings from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on WSBRadio.com and on the WSB Radio app.
It's a new day.